On today's show, according to reports, Nico Harrison and the Dallas Mavericks have been one of the most active teams on the phones for the trade market right now. What calls should they be making? We'll tell you on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
We have Kyrie.
You are Locked On Mavs.
Great, Rusty.
Your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast.
No one's dying.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Amazing.
Your team every day.
Still can't even open.
And welcome. You're Locked On to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Engstead, media member and NBA channel manager of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being an everyday or making Locked On Mavs your first listen today. Check the QR code for different ways to follow the show or the links in the description. Today's episode is sponsored by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use that code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. And joining me as always, the trade titan, the trade machine maniac, media member, the One More Thing King. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
The snowman making. I'm hopefully we're recording this before anything starts happening in Dallas, and
Snow-wise.
There is nothing more than I enjoy during the season than Pete Delkus in his element. If you get Pete Delkus with no jacket and it's the button up,
No jacket, Pete.
Oxford shirt with the sleeves rolled up, it's game time. It is game time for Pete Delkus, the weatherman for WFA. It's this incredible moment right now.
You know, we're colleagues with Pete Delkus.
I know.
WFA,
I love
right?
Pete Delkus.
He was tweeting today, like, I have closed Dallas ISD. I have closed colleagues. Like, he started going through all these schools.
It's like
Saying that
election
he
night
closed
for
them.
him. He's
It
like,
kinda
I'm
is.
calling it right now. I'm calling County.
Now, listen, see, in Dallas County area, you see there's this one area where it goes through.
Irving
Oh my
ISD
gosh.
is
Well,
reporting in right now. It's incredible. It's great.
hopefully it's not as bad as they were originally reporting and everybody stays safe and all that. And so we will, if my internet goes out, I don't know, we'll do the show live from the AAC or something. We'll just go out the front of the
If
AAC.
there's a game, Nick. If there's a game.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. We'll just go out the front of the AAC. All right, we'll do the show in front of the American Airlines Center. Today's episode, we're going to get into the Mavs on the trade market. They're, according to Brian Windhorst and ESPN, the Mavs have been one of the most active teams on the phones. So Isaac and I are going to say, what calls should Nico be making? He could be making any kind of calls. There's all kinds of different things he could be saying, but what calls should Mavs GM Nico Harrison be making? First one I think he should make. Maybe not the first, but the most important one to me, the most interesting one.
Ghostbusters.
Check on Herb Jones again. I'm just checking back in. I know they said that. I know there's the rumor that came out that said that we're not interested in getting rid of him. He's 26 years old, elite wing defender. I don't care. Teams have said this over and over again that, we're not trading this guy. Pat Riley just said they're not trading Jimmy Butler 2 weeks ago, and now they've suspended him and looking to trade him. I mean, things change on a dime in the NBA. And for the Mavericks, the one thing that you really could use that would be excellent for this team and take them to another level, you watch that Thunder OKC game tonight,
great.
and you look at the level of those two teams and go, all right, what would take the Mavericks to that level? First of all, if everybody was healthy at the same dang time, like that would be excellent. But for the Mavs, it's an elite defensive wing. Look at what Lou Dort can do for that Thunder defense. That linchpin of having that one guy that can just lock down somebody. Donovan Mitchell scored 2 field goals in the first quarter, or the first half of that game. I mean, he had him locked down. And if the Mavs get somebody like that, it changes a lot of things that you can do, and it raises the floor of your team once again. And Herb Jones is one that is on a team that is terrible. The second worst record in the NBA the Pelicans have. He's got a lower contract too, and you start looking around.
Back though,
right? But you start looking around the league. It's Herb Jones. To me, it's like Herb Jones, Lou Dort, OG Anunoby, Dyson Daniels. Like those are the elite wing defenders, I think, and I think Herb Jones would be the most available of those.
Yeah, I think Griff in New Orleans, their GM, his assistant's probably like every day. Hey, sir, Nico's calling again. Like Nico's on line too. He's like, all right, Nico, we're not trading Herb. All right, you call every day, but keep calling, Nico, because it's worth it. You never know at the end of the line or close to the deadline if they do put Herb on the market. You got to try to make this happen. I mean, how infuriating would it be if another top West team pulls off a trade for Herb Jones out of nowhere, and you're like, the Shams like notification comes through, Herb Jones on his way to
The Lakers.
Don't say it.
I just wanted to say the team that would make you the most angry.
Watching Dorian in the Lakers jersey was one of the hardest experiences of my life. I don't even know if BetterHelp's a sponsor today, but it almost
not today. They knew you were going to be going through it. They're ready for you.
But no, it's the wing position. We've been saying the backup four to PJ Washington. If you can add another wing in this like defensive wing rotation that you have when everyone's healthy, hopefully come playoff time, and it's, you know, you have your PJ and Najee, Quentin Grimes, and these guys on the bench. Like, you need another guy that can, you know, guard on the perimeter, whether it's just a rotation guy off the bench or it's an elite defender like a Herb Jones in New Orleans. So that has to be the top calls that he's making around the league.
Of those other guys, Dyson Daniels is going crazy right now for Atlanta. I just don't think they're going to trade him because I think he's a piece they build around. They just traded for him. OG Anunoby for the Knicks, they're not going to trade him. Lou Dort, I don't think the Thunder are trading him unless they get a huge upgrade. And so Herb Jones seems like the one that you could buy. Like, he's the best defensive player on a bad team. I looked through all the teams. I had a really hard time trying to find good defensive players on bad teams. Last year, I was like, oh, PJ Washington. And I talked about PJ Washington all until the trade deadline. And I was talking to him up and saying, at one point I did a show. I was like, all right, the Mavs should just do it. Just get PJ Washington. And they ended up getting him, and it ended up working really well.
Well, here's the thing with defense, though. It's so hard to, like, you got to project. And it's like, yes, Dyson Daniels, he comes out in the draft, and it's like, yes, his calling card was like, he's this bigger point guard, bigger body, bigger frame, that when these guys come out and nowadays in drafts, it's the bigger point guards that are like, oh man, look at the defensive athletic potential of these guys, but can they shoot? Feels like that's the thing with every big point guard. But you know, Daniels is in New Orleans, and you're like, I mean, there were like little moments and stuff. He goes to Atlanta, and it's like a bust out. Holy crap. Like, Atlanta's been one of my favorite league pass watches this year. Not as much because of Trey, but I love the Jalen Johnson, Ricochet, and Dyson Daniels. Like, those three guys together, that's what you build around. So I think it's less about Dyson Daniels because they're not going to trade him. It's more about who's the next Dyson Daniels. Like, who's the guy that you're canvassing the league. You're not gonna be able to get like a Thompson twin either. They still have, you know, higher value for Detroit and Houston, but it's like, who's somebody in the Dyson Daniels spot that you're looking at and you're like, if they switched like to a different team and a system, we think they could have that type of impact. And I don't know who that exact name is, though.
Or even Derrick Jones Jr. from last year. I mean, that's a great example of a guy that almost came out of nowhere. He was not playing that much on the Bulls and came to the Mavericks. The name that came to mind when I started looking through teams, he's already made an all-defensive team. The Mavs have already given him an offer. Matisse Thybulle.
Thybulle, yeah.
I mean, he's on a bad team, the Blazers. He's got a deal that matches up with Maxi's really well if you wanted to do that kind of a deal. I just don't know for him if he plays enough to make that worth it. And if you're not playing enough at that spot, then did you upgrade enough? You know, because you still are going to need that backup four in some way, and Thybulle doesn't do that. Your boy Jonathan Isaac is another one, but I think he's already an elite defender.
Oh yeah, no, he's an elite defender. I mean, so many defenders on Orlando's elite. So Orlando's an amazing defensive team. It's just hard. It's hard to find a guy like that because you want somebody that has the size to, like, you look at like a Davion Mitchell, who's probably available in Toronto that they would probably like trade, but he's pretty small. I mean, it feels like people post clips all the time of him and like, dude, look at his defense. And it's really good, but he's also playing like Lou Dort football half the time. And I'm like, dude, how does he get away with this? But I would take him on the Mavs. Like, I think he would be an amazing point of attack defender in Dallas, but he's small. So it's like, how do you find who are you looking at across the league? I mean, obviously you can't get the elite rising young duo of Max Christie or Austin Reeves. I mean, that's just, they're in a top tier than anyone else in the league. I swear people tried to convince me that Austin Reeves was really good at defense at some point. I thought that was a thing people tried to make happen. But Dallas attacked him.
Girl
I mean, they went at him more the other night. Then I was just like, this is embarrassing. Like for him, like get him off the floor. Put anybody out. JJ, check in. Like save him. Put Bronny out there. He's getting embarrassed.
I have another like low-key name.
Okay.
This doesn't change your world necessarily, but it could help.
Maybe.
Would the Clippers think about Nick Batum?
No.
Like a vet.
I love Nick Batum, but I don't think they do. I mean, because I think Clippers are, they're looking decent of late. I want Lonzo.
You do? Coming up. Let's talk me. Isaac's going to talk me into Lonzo because I don't see the vision. Isaac apparently does. He's going to talk to me about that. We'll do other calls that Nico Harrison should make coming up.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use that code LOCKEDONNBA to get $20 off your first ticket. Isaac, what's the last event you went to? You and your wife, or even just you by yourself, or with a friend? Or
gosh, I can't think of anything. But if I could go to something, I would go.
You just went to a concert recently.
I mean, I went to Usher back in like October, so I guess that's the
for a dad of two kids. That is the most recent. That's the most recent thing. There's all kinds of
fed cherries into women's mouths.
If you want to see that or see other things, Nate Bargatze is playing at the American Airlines Center next year. Go check out.
I like him.
I would go see that for sure. Tyler, the Creator, coming in March. There's all kinds of great things on Gametime. Go see what is available for you. I love using the all-in pricing feature where you turn it on and then you just see what you're going to pay at checkout. I haven't checked the Cotton Bowl prices. They're probably going down. Now that they were like the Cotton Bowl prices are like $400 and now they're down to like $300. You can get in for $200, standing room only. Now you're gonna stand, and you're gonna walk out, and it's gonna be snowing. So you got to worry about that.
Amazing.
But go check out Gametime, see what's available for you, all kinds of stuff. Again, Locked On NBA is the promo code, $20 off your first purchase. That's LOCKEDON NBA for $20 off. Terms apply. Create that account, redeem the code, download Gametime today. Isaac, what time is it?
Gametime.
We're also brought to you by Rocket RX. We mentioned that Isaac is a father, so congrats. Today's episode is brought to you by Rocket RX. If you're ready to boost your confidence and take control in the bedroom, Rocket RX has the solution. Imagine feeling more prepared and performing at your best. Rocket RX makes it simple and stress-free. Check out Rocket RX. They have FDA-approved treatments for erectile dysfunction at lower cost than branded alternatives. No more uncomfortable doctor's visits or pharmacy trips. Isn't that the thing that you hate the worst about that? Is just, telling your doctor it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, it would be.
Complete a quick 100% online consultation. You can get your free prescription today. Visit rocketrx.com to get started now. It only takes 2 minutes. Right now, our listeners can get 40% off your first order when you use the code LOCKEDONNBA. That's rocketrx.com. Code LOCKEDONNBA for 40% off your first order. Terms and conditions apply. Rocket RX. Better sex made simple.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, what we call our listeners listening every day. Check the QR code for ways to follow the show, as well as the links in the description. You can get emails from us every day, a newsletter that we send, we formulate, come up with, send out every day. You'll get the best Mavs news and NBA news. We also have the Locked On Mavs Insiders. You get texts straight to your phone. Help support the show as well. And Isaac and I will send notes. I send notes every day for when the episode drops. I'll also send notes for every game day, before the game, after the game, during the game. Isaac does mailbags and answers your questions on there. Great stuff all the time. Help support the show. Check the QR code. Links in the description. All right, Isaac. We're talking about the Mavs. They're one of the most active teams on the phone so far this trade season, according to ESPN. We're talking about what calls they should make. You think they should call for Lonzo Ball? Talk me into it.
I just don't think the price is like a ton, right? Like it's expiring contract, $21 million. He's 6'6". When he was healthy, I get it. It's kind of like if you're trying to like convince me of like Ben Simmons or Lonzo Ball, expiring contracts. They both, used to play defense, both injury prone.
Would you like a hernia or a broken foot? You gotta make a decision.
But give me Lonzo any day of the week over Ben Simmons. Like,
sure, if those are my options.
I just don't think it would take a ton to get him. And I think it's like a low risk, potential high reward type of thing. And he has played over 20 minutes a game over the last like 5 games in Chicago. It might just be because I've watched a couple Chicago games recently. I watched another one the other night against the Spurs because I really like watching the Spurs right now too. And the Kobe White dunk on Wemby.
That was insane to win the game.
But it's just like I loved his basketball IQ coming out of UCLA, and I really liked him as a player. He would just be fun to have off the bench. That's like, is he an elite lockdown guy? Like all the stuff? No, but like if it's like super cheap to get him, you could do a lot worse.
You know what? I think you're a tweaker. I might swerve, bend that corner.
Dude, that song blew up fast.
They played it. They played it in the AAC before the game. That's LiAngelo Ball, Lonzo's brother. Yes, the one that stole the glasses in China and that played in the G League and wasn't an NBA player. Yeah, he really, that's his Wikipedia page.
You just sank him there.
But with Lonzo, the vision I think would be this. I don't believe this, but I think this is what the vision could be. I saw somebody post Otto Porter Jr.'s games played. Have you ever looked at Otto Porter Jr.'s games played? No. It's like he played 30 games one year for the Wizards, and then he played like 20 games the next year. Yeah, here we go. He played 14 games for the Bulls, 28 games for the Bulls and the Magic. Then for the Warriors, he plays 63 games, plays the entire playoffs, and they win the title that year in 2022. And it's like the only time since 2018 he's played 63, like over 60 games basically. That's the vision, is a guy like that where you're like, all right, we got to catch lightning in a bottle. Somebody that elevates our team, makes us better. He would be
half a season though. Like,
right. Yeah. And can he just play half a season? Can he be healthy enough to, all right, we don't believe that Dinwiddie is good enough to be that guard. We don't believe that Exum is, but if we have all 3 of these guys, Lonzo, Exum, Hardy, Dinwiddie, all of them, okay, one of them is probably going to be good enough in a series or big enough, and maybe our passing gets so much better that it elevates us. And so maybe that's the vision for it, but he gets injured too much, and he had to learn how to walk again.
I know. It's a cool
story. What's another call?
Well, yeah, let's shift a little bit from the wings because we always talk about that. I mean, if we're just thinking about, because I think this did surprise me a little bit, like about, Windhorst saying, hey, the Mavs are, most active right now on the market. I'm like, I expected Nico to be, he's always ready to pounce on like an opportunity. But I was like, all right, what could it be? I mean, this is going to like make you and some fans like upset a little bit. But like, if you're unsure about the next Grimes contract, is he shopping him? Like, is he calling around and he's like, dude, he's kind of outplaying the value. It's great right now, but if like you're trying to like package things together right now, and you're looking at some of your draft picks, you got the Maxey contract, you have your young guys and Hardy and Omax and stuff. Grimes is playing so well now, and if you were, obviously he was there for all the negotiations for the contract before he's going to be a restricted free agent. I just wonder if it just wouldn't shock me if they like made a bigger deal and they combine some contracts, and it's not a Dwight Powell salary, or it's not like an Omax thing. It's like a Grimes with Maxey and something, and that played into it. I'm not saying I would do it. I'm just trying to think of like things that he could be calling about.
Oh, I think part of the thing you just said there is that he's got to call about trade value. That's the thing that teams do all the time. That teams are always calling. It's probably what I think Nico's actually doing, is just calling to see, all right, you got to know. You got to know, because if you get wind from Grimes' agent that he's not going to resign, you just got to know what his value is.
Yeah,
and you got to figure it out. Now he's a restricted free agent, so it's a little different than even from the Brunson thing, obviously, from the Derrick Jones Jr. thing and all that. You also got to call about Maxi Kleber's trade value. You just got to know, and that one you need to know. Grimes,
you're probably playing a lot.
Grimes is you're probably just asking. You're like, I'm just asking. I'm not really looking to trade him right now. I'm just at the used car dealership. I'm just looking. I'm browsing right now. I'm not. But for Maxi, you're like, all right, I know I'm going to buy a car. I just don't know which one. But it's got to be the right one. And so you trade value. That's one of the calls I think Nico's making right now.
Yeah. I think a question that I think he could be asking his team is there a more reliable, not reliable, that's not the right word because I was looking at something else, a more versatile backup big man than Gafford? And I asked this question. How, like, would you attach anything to Gafford to go get Nick Claxton?
Maybe.
They're both super. Like at that point, you have two like skinnier athletic guys and Lively and Claxton. So it might not, like right now it's like the Bruiser and Gafford, and then you have Lively. Kind of like they counter each other, so it's like a good pairing. And I'm not saying I would do that. I have always liked Claxton, but is that something that they're looking around the league saying, all right, we love Gafford, he's awesome, he has gotten played off a few times. Is there like a more versatile backup big that we're like looking at?
Yeah, I can't see the vision for the Nets to do something like that unless you get enough assets, like you said, attach something to
really?
it.
What are they even trying to do?
Well, I mean, they got to keep something. They got to build something.
But like his contract is like, it's not like he's on an expiring contract. He's still pretty young, and you're looking at still multiple years on his contract. That he's making 27 this year, then 25. It's decreasing, but I don't know. I was just trying to think of stuff.
Yeah, that definitely interesting. Coming up, I have something that the Mavs should do around Jimmy Butler. They were rumored to be in on Jimmy Butler, but what should they actually call about Jimmy Butler? We'll talk about that coming up.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by Ultimate GM. This is a game that I have played and I got addicted to it, and I had to go and check my phone, and I had to change my my screen time availability on this because I was playing it too much. Ultimate College Basketball Head Coach, or Ultimate College Basketball HC. If you've ever dreamed about being a college basketball head coach, this is your chance to step into those shoes. In Ultimate College Basketball HC, you control every detail of your program: recruiting players, hiring staff, overseeing training camps, handling NIL deals, managing scholarships. It's one of those fun games you're just going to love to play. Go check it out. A special offer for Locked On NBA listeners. Use the promo code LOCKEDONCBB, Locked On College Basketball, Locked On CBB, all caps, inside the game store to get a free boost. Play the game a little bit first. Start a new account, start a new profile. Then use the boost when you actually know what it does. That is the very, very key that I messed up. To download Ultimate College Basketball HC, just visit ultimate-cbb.com or look it up on the app stores. Ultimate College Basketball HC. Begin your coaching legacy today.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
All right, Isaac Harris, we're talking about calls that Nico Harrison should be making around trades right now. And Jimmy Butler's the talk of the town. If you go to Hoops Hype and you look at just the rumors tab and you scroll through, it's just Jimmy Butler's face a million times. It's just every story has his headshot next to it. The Mavs were one of the teams that Jimmy Butler wanted to get traded to. And it's very hard for the Mavericks to trade for Jimmy Butler. We have been in on saying that they shouldn't trade for Jimmy Butler. You're just giving up too many pieces. It wouldn't be worth it. But the Mavs should be in on Jimmy Butler because it's got to be a 3-team deal. If he's going to go to the Suns, and that's just the leader in the clubhouse right now, Bradley Beal has to be in it, and Beal has to go to somewhere else. And I'm not saying the Mavs get Beal, but things have to be moved around. And so can the Mavs be in as a 3rd team, 4th team in a deal where they pick up somebody and just are just in the transaction, just like moving things along? And I think that's what Nico Harrison has to learn. He has to do recon on the Jimmy Butler deal. That's what I think he should be calling for right now.
Yeah, I mean that's the sole thing. No part of Bradley Beal. See ya. But if like a Brad Beal goes to like the Lakers, hey, we'll take Rui from you for a cheap price. If Miami's like, hey, where can we send Rui or something like, I'm just trying to think of something off the top of my head of, Beal holds all the cards to this whole thing. So somebody asked me on Twitter a while back, it was a few weeks ago, about what happens with Jimmy. And I quote tweeted, I was like, I think he ends up in Phoenix and Beal goes to the 3rd team. It's just a lot of times how these things figure, like they figure themselves out, and a lot of people get what they want in these scenarios. Well,
Dame ended up going to the Bucks. And it was
true.
Dame to Miami the whole time. I think a random team will jump out and all of a sudden will be like, wait, how is Jimmy on the Nuggets? Like something will happen.
Yeah, and so it's like we just got to figure out how Brad Beal, what does he approve? He holds all the cards with the no trade clause. So where is he okay, going to? Because he's under contract for like 2 more years after this, at an ungodly amount of money. So yeah, can they swoop in as like a 4th team and say, hey, we'll take that piece from you?
Yeah, and that's a call I think he should be making. We talked about trade value. I've got one more thing.
One more thing. I have one more like thought on trade stuff, but keep going.
I think they should check in on Kyle Kuzma again.
Interesting. A star.
The question is, he's got his own shoes. Did he learn his lesson? Did he learn his lesson? That's the thing that I want to know. Did he learn? Because he didn't want to play with the Mavs. Mavs go to the finals. And the Mavs get PJ Washington, which ended up being a way better trade anyway, I think. But now there's rumors that he is open to playing with the Mavs now. And so, I don't know. Did he learn his lessons like Dinwiddie did? He also had a beef with Dinwiddie, a very public beef with Dinwiddie. They both played on the Wizards together, and they were beefing on Twitter. I don't know if he's okay with that, but you just check on it. Because of the teams that are not good, you start looking around and you're like, ooh, there's not a lot of available guys out there on teams that aren't good. And Kyle Kuzma is
with
one.
Contracts, you don't want like the Jeremy Grant contract.
No, I'm out.
Too big, So it's like that's the type of DeAndre Ayton, $35 million. No, like, so it's like, yes, as far as talent, I get the Kuzma thing. Position, he's a wing, he could score. Like, I get all of it. It would be a little awkward because he basically turned Dallas down, and then him and Dinwiddie stuff. But
when you're healthy, your backups are Dinwiddie, Grimes, Najee, Kyle Kuzma, and Gafford. You have to give up some stuff somewhere in there, but
yeah, I mean it's hard to do the healthy thing because I don't know what would go out. I don't even know what his trade value is right now.
That's why Nico Harrison's got to make the call. You just got to check on it, see what it is.
Well, he's making the calls right now.
Make the call.
In that kind of like lane there, because Kuzma would bring you some more offense too. I think that's the only other route that I'm like looking at right now. If Nico is making calls around the league and looking at, I know we haven't talked about offense in a long time, but if like you're looking at your team right now and you're like, all right, Kyrie's out for a couple weeks. We know we got to get him some rest in the second half of the season. Luka's obviously out too. He's not going to play every single game. And you're looking at it and you're saying, are we really going to trust everything into the Dinwiddie, Grimes piecing it together on offense, PJ, all this stuff? Like, do you trust all of that for a significant amount of offense in some of these games where you might be looking at with no Luka, no Kyrie? So is this the first time he's probably like looking, or could be looking around saying, is there another like guy that could like run some offense if we really needed it?
Basically the Hardy upgrade right now.
Yeah, I mean, we saw how huge Hardy was in that Lakers game, but it feels like we're getting that Hardy game once every like 15 to 18 games.
He's had 15 points, at least 15 points the last 3 games, but we've talked about his hasn't been as consistent this season. And if you could get an upgrade there, I mean, you might as well call about it.
The thing with the trade thing is, and what makes it kind of fun as a Mavs fan, because everybody loves trades and speculation, is just a reminder. Nico likes to swing for things, all right?
Yeah.
So like he will swing for stuff, and a lot of the like bigger stuff that happens, it didn't get reported. Gafford, PJ Washington, Kyrie was like interested in Dallas, but it's just like, it's not like one of those things that's reported on forever and then bam, it crossed the finish line. Oh yeah, I expected that. Nico kind of works in the shadows with that. So it's like, bam, out of nowhere, Dallas lands Anthony Simons. And it's like, what?
Whoa.
Like, what is this? So it's like, that's what makes it kind of fun as a Mavs fan, is like, I still don't expect him to do a ton, but if Nico went out and swung for the fences with something, you're like, oh, all right, that's Nico.
And he's been great. I mean, he's been nailing a bunch of picks. Is there any other players you had written down that you were like, oh, he should make a call about this guy?
No, I mean, you mentioned Tybo earlier. That's just I think it's just a natural one. They've shown interest before. He's missed a lot of the season.
If Jimmy ends up in Houston, could Dylan Brooks get swung to another team? That's another one that I had.
Yeah. Dylan Brooks would be.
Could the Mavs handle Dylan Brooks and Najee Marshall on the same team?
It would be a lot of fun.
Did you see the clip that our friend Jason Gallagher posted today of Trey Murphy talking about Najee Marshall?
No.
He was talking about the dust up between the Suns and the Mavs. And Trey Murphy said, now Najee is very heavy-handed. And sometimes in practice, Najee Marshall would start to swing. And like he'd be just messing around. And sometimes he would connect. And you're like, whoa, man, whoa. Najee Marshall's just punching dudes in practice.
But not the Draymond way. Just like
yeah, not like in a vicious way, just like he likes to fight kind of way. And I don't know if they can deal with Dylan Brooks and Najee Marshall at the same time, but hey, if you can,
they're just both randomly suspended for 3 games.
They fought each other.
My favorite Jimmy thing though is like how fun would a 4-team trade of Zion to Sacramento, Fox to Miami. Fox to Miami, and to go with Bam. Jimmy goes to the Pelicans. Brandon Ingram, goes to Miami too. Like it, like that's
the Pelicans.
I mean, I just don't know what the Pelicans are doing. Like,
I mean, they're losing a bunch of games.
They're miserable right now.
Larry Nance is the other name I had written down that we've talked about before.
Yeah, no, I like Larry Nance a lot. I threw out the I think it was last week the If like San Antonio swings for somebody like a Jimmy Butler or something, like I would take Harrison Barnes back in Dallas to come off the bench as like a backup 4. Don't make any joke. I know I love Harrison Barnes. The one that the comments like went at me on, like in agreement, it was like, man, if we could, that'd be awesome. Is I like threw out there Naz Reid. I was like, because Minnesota was like losing so many games and they're starting Julius Randle and all the stuff. And I was like, dude, if they're not confident in like re-signing Naz Reid this summer, because I think he has a player option, I would be making a call. I'm like, hey, if you're not going to pay him, can we do this now? Like, can we make that call now?
You want to talk about a revolt in Minnesota? Oof, he is beloved there. But
yeah,
Mavs traded Dorian, so it's kind of that'd be a wild one. I like your idea of who's the Derek Jones Jr. Dyson Daniels this year that the Mavs could trade for. I think that's a potential future podcast topic we talk about where we try to find one of those guys and we just go back and forth.
Who's the next like rising star duo? That's what I'm trying to find. That's not Max Christie or Austin Reeves. Those are untouchable guys.
That Bleacher Report graphic is legendary.
Oh, I don't think it's Bleacher Report. I think it was NBA TNT.
Was it TNT? Oh, it was
for
TNT.
Sure.
You're right. Bleacher Report and TNT, they're all Turner, so they're all in the same room.
Okay.
Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs. Check the QR code for different ways to follow the show or the links in the description. We'll have a show covering the Trailblazers game if it happens tomorrow. It'll be a home game. I'll be there. Slightly will be with me. Guys, thanks for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.